Today I'm doing a basic stringing video, and to start off here, the materials you're going to need. To start out, you need a piece of string about, I would say, probably a head and a half. So to start out, this is a 9 diamond, fold it over, make sure the folded part's on the back. I usually use the top 3 holes right here, and for this one I'm going to use the middle hole. It's my favorite to use. And you put it through, start out, you put it through the sidewall, and then through the front of the mesh, back through the sidewall again, same hole. Once you get it through, you pull it tight, so it should look something like this when I'm finished pulling it through. Should look something like that, where it's around the mesh and through the back of that. Then for the next step, you're going to be putting it through the front of the same mesh hole, going right here, going out of it, pull that all the way through, keeping it tight. Then the next step is where the real stringing of the top string really happens. You go through the back of the head, leaving this little loop right here, through the next available mesh hole, pull it through that loop, and it should make something like that L looking shape right there. Next step, you go through the back of the very same mesh hole that you just used, leaving a loop again, go through the front of the scoop and down through that loop, and then pull it tight. Should end up looking something like that. So after you finish that first 2 interlock type things up there on the first mesh, on the second mesh hole, I guess, you're going to skip a mesh hole right here, move on to the next one, and also skip a top wall hole. So you're going to go through the back of the scoop, leaving a loop, you're going to skip a mesh hole right here and go to this one. You're going to put it through that and through the loop, pull it pretty tight. Then next you're going to go through the mesh hole again, just like before, leaving a little loop, going through the scoop, the front of the scoop, and down to that little loop you left. So it again should give you another one of these little things looking like that. Once you've done that, you're on to the final part of it, which is probably the easiest part of the top string, I think. You go through the back of the final mesh hole that's left, the back of it just like that, through the middle, or whatever you use, you should put it through the corresponding hole, put it through the back of the mesh again, and through the same sidewall hole again, which again can be tricky just like the other side depending on how big the holes are. And on the M80 they aren't very big, which is something that I wish they had changed. Makes it harder to string stuff like this on the top string. Once you get it through there the second time, pull it as tight as possible, and it should look something like that when you're finished. You obviously have to tie this off. And once you're done with that, you are finished with your top string. It should look like that. Like that on the front. So now to start on your side wall, you're basically going to do the same thing you did to start your top string. You're going to find the next hole, and you're going to go through the sidewall first, obviously, to get your knot caught right there. Pull it through, go through the next mesh hole right there, and you're gonna put it back through the same sidewall hole again, just like before, but with the sidewall instead of the top string. Again, depending on the head, it could be tricky to get it through there. Once you've gotten it through there, just like that, should look just like that, bottom one right there, you are going to start the real sidewall stringing part. This part is probably the most important because it shapes where your pocket's going to be and how your channel is going to look. So to start, you put it through, I'm skipping sidewall hole, putting it through the next sidewall hole, pulling it through there, leaving a little loop, going through the next mesh hole, down, through that little loop, and then it should make another little interlock right there, just like that. Then after that, you should go down through the back of the mesh and through skipping a sidewall hole again, and then through that loop that you create right there, holding it tight. Create another one just like that. Once you finish these two interlocks right here, you should go through the next mesh hole and also next side, or skip a sidewall hole and go through the next sidewall hole after that. This is for a low pocket also. Then next, we're going to start the pocket here after that interlock right there by doing a double, by going through the next mesh hole, leaving a little loop right there, going through another mesh hole, the back of both, and going through the very next sidewall hole also, just like that. So to reiterate, you're going to go through the back of this mesh right here, this mesh hole right here, pull it through, then you're going to go through the back of the next mesh hole also, and the next sidewall hole. And then you're going to go through the loop that you left on the first one. Then we're going to do another double, same thing, through the back of a mesh hole, leaving a loop through the back of another mesh hole, through the next sidewall hole, and through that loop again. Pull it as tight as possible. Then you're going to do one last interlock. So you go through the next mesh hole, next sidewall hole, and through the loop. Once you've finished up to here, you go down to the last interlock. Same thing as you just did before. Pull it through. And then for the final one, I always just go through the 9th diamond out of the 10 and put it through this hole right here, which is the last sidewall hole, I guess. And then I just tie it off. So to start out, you do the same thing as the other side. Put it through, just like that. Pull it through. And then you just mimic the other side. So I finished the sidewall, and this is how it's going to look. So I'm going to show you how to do shooters real quick too. I'm only using one on this head because I don't prefer very much whip, just a little bit. So first off, you're going to go through this hole right here, right there, in between the sidewall and the mesh. So just like that. Right there between the sidewall and the mesh. Then you're going to pull it, I'd say a little bit more than halfway. I'd say have a little bit more than a quarter left on the outside. And then you're just going to go follow that line of mesh. And you just go up through a part. Oops. Just go up. Just go up through that. And then you keep it straight all the way through it. And then down to the next one. Up through the next one. Down through the next one. Up through the next one. And so on all the way across. And then the way back is a little bit more tricky. But it's not too bad. You just keep it flat at all times. And you go above the first one, just like that. See how it goes above? You're going through the front of the mesh, and you're going above the string. Then keep it just the way it is. Keep it flat, and you will go through the bottom of this one, just like that. So you should start getting this little shape type thing right there. Keeping it flat again, go through the top of the next one, and you just alternate like that. Top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, all the way across. And so I'm basically done with them now. Looks kind of like that. You just tie them off when you're done. Please subscribe if you like this video, and I hope it helped you out a lot.